Hi, everyone. So we're hitting okay for a third time. It's all good. Maybe this will be the last time, or I'll break this video up into two. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We play it by ear. Um, let's get into it. So we've now got our project, and I cannot minimize. Thank you. I should know that by now. I'm going to just share screen, and let's get back at it. Good. Are we ready? Now I can minimize. Get out of here, you. All right. So we got that. We got that. All right, we got this. We ready, everybody? Let's rock and roll. Maybe I'll just minimize this so you don't have to see my ugly mug. Okay, and we've got downloads, yeah? So let's go there first, okay? And we can open that up, have a look at what we need. Okay, so while we do this, well, let's get this in check. I'm gonna give everyone like 4 or 5 minutes. And once we get this all set up, what I'd like you to do is go through and find a few things. We're going to need your creative type, yeah, and we're going to need your buttons. So that's important, yeah. We need to find those two things because we're going to be working with those two things over the course of this. So what I'm going to do is in assignments, I'm going to create. I've already got my project 3 folder. I've got my A, B, and C. Okay. I've got a folder called final completed, final, right? FML, good. There we go. Good. So I'm gonna work maybe from, yeah, I've got one that I've kind of set up, but we'll go through the process together. You'll notice that I have what I did was I brought everything forward. So I took in my part B, I took my finals button, and part A, I took my finals, my text. So I have my text and I also grabbed my buttons. And what I did was I just copy and pasted them into my project C because I know I'm going to need both of them. So, and you guys can do that even here with Command C, or right? Command C, Command V. You can do it really quick, right? So that will allow you to go in and do a Command C and then Command V, right? There we go, right? So notice that I went into that package and then I have that AI file right there for me. You can do it in multiple ways. You can drag and drop it and bring it in. Um, when I did that though, notice it made a copy right to this top layer, which did not work out the way I wanted it to. You have to actually be in Project C to do Command V, just so you're aware. All I'm getting at is just make sure you go in and see if you can't grab your type and your buttons. At the end of the day, is that necessary? No, you have them there, but just so that it's, you know where to find them. Okay, you'll notice I have my type in here and I've got my buttons in here. And then I have my die for the submission, which you guys are going to grab right here. Okay, so you guys can grab that die, drag it over into your project 3C. Okay, that being said, let's get organized, right? Supporting. And I'm going to take my type. I'm going to hit the command key if you want to try that. Command, click, click if you have multiple, and maybe you only have the one die in there for now, which is fine, right? We're going to have working. Awesome. And then we're going to have to client, right? Awesome. So we've got our supporting, which has all of our files that we need to complete this project, okay? And then we have our to client, which is our final PDF you're going to submit to me. And then we have our working, and that's going to be the one that we actually work through. Yeah, sound good? Are we all organized with that, everyone? I know you guys have original, working, and finals, right, in your Photoshop, but this is just another way. It's great. Every boss, I promise, and every place you work at, I think I went over week 1, is going to have a different file structure, different file management. We got to get used to different ones and ones that work well for your company, not for you, right? That being said, hey, it's your computer. You can do whatever you want through Mohawk. But what I'm getting at is we're getting you ready for the way, yeah, as mentioned. Everyone has a different file system. I think I mentioned at Adidas, we do it with, right, numbers, right? Customer names, customer numbers, order numbers, work orders, holy heck, numbers. There's nothing, the easiest way to find something is to type in 10678. Boop, found. There it is. There's our job order. Not, did I call that Dino type? Oh no, it was type with, oh, was it? Right? You're not gonna, yeah, you guys get the idea. Dewey Decimal. Woohoo. Right. Moving on. Guys, open up that package die submission. Ooh, yeah. All right, are we ready to get started? If we can all start here, you're gonna have maybe a few errors. Really the only error you should find is maybe gonna be up here on the top left. Because you'll notice the rest of this has all been converted, okay? So that's good to know, okay? But you may have copy that it's up here, that it's asking for your name and so on. So if it is asking you for your name and so on, because I did use, I believe I used Acumen. Yeah, it's right here. Good job, Mitch. Mine isn't missing. Huh. Right? You can go in and you can change that. I think Acumen is now a system font though, so I'm hoping you guys have it. Okay, and this is a variable font. Remember we looked at variable fonts and how we have the ability to do this now, right? Wait, whoop. This is the coolest thing since sliced bread. Yeah? Oh my goodness, we have the ability to do wait, condensed, right? Oh my goodness, this is just phenomenal. I can't get over these variable fonts. They're just amazing. You want kind of a 10% italic? There you go. 6-point italic. You want 12-point italic or full. This is crazy. Anyway, pretty awesome. So let's start here, yeah? We have our client. This is going to be, yeah, I guess you can put my name, would be good. Because it's a fictional, right? I guess depending on, yeah, you can say John, you know, whatever you like. Date, we have June 2020. Sounds good, okay? So let's start there, get that filled out, okay? Nice and easy peasy. Change the font up if you need to, okay? So if you want to even just go to Myriad or you want to go to whatever font you have there. Don't do something like this, please. That's ridiculous, okay? Not only is it decorative font, but this is just it's ridiculous. You can't read it. It takes away from the overall, yeah? Does it have a time and place maybe? Good Lord, this font, this would, oh man, that's awful. Okay, moving on. Let's see what we got. You'll notice, extremely important, do not move or size main template as it's needed for cutting, okay? So I just called that out for everyone. Don't grab these hands and move them around, okay? And don't grab these and move them around, okay? More importantly, I guess, you know what, at the end of the day, all of this stuff that's here is all for your reference, okay? What I mean by that is, if you watch I think I have 3 submissions for the Angry Bird button, so not many of us obviously have looked at that video, but these are known as cut contour lines, right? And in order for a cut contour line, there's a process that we need to get through. Now, cut contours, though, everyone, would be if we had a package that looked like this. And if I said to you, which we'll get there in packaging design class, if I said to you, everybody, design your own package, and you will be doing that. And I'm going to say, there we go, look at that cool package I just made. And you all had a different package that looked different from one another. This is when cut contour lines are needed. Just like the Angry Bird that we did, if you want an Angry Bird printed, you need to make a cut contour because everyone has a different Angry Bird, yeah? Make sense? This is a predetermined die, meaning we put the die into the system. It is going to find the crop mark or find the registration marks right here. If there's one thing you do not want to move out of all of this template, if there's anything, I don't want you to move anything, but the one thing you cannot move are these. If you move this over here, this will not cut. Okay? Because what happens is these registration marks on all four corners, this is what the ESCO table is going to look at before it starts cutting. Okay, the die is built in between these four registrations. So it's kind of neat. You guys will get in there maybe in January next year. And it's kind of neat how the ESCO, what it does is it goes, scans this registration, and it goes over here, scans, and then scans. Once it's found all four of those registration marks, and it's matched the same die that we were using, it'll then go and cut it all out. Neat, eh? If you took this and you moved it, it doesn't care. It doesn't, like, nothing's going to happen, right? Because it's still going to cut out the pieces that are predefined in these four registration marks, if that makes sense. That being said, don't move it, but I just want you to know that leave this as it is, okay? Because more so when we come into these hands, or whatever you want to do with these, I say hands, but they can be bushes, or they can be clouds, or they can be vines, or they can be whatever you want to do. You have creative freedom to do what you wish with these hands, okay? It's totally up to you. You'll notice it says mirror. Sorry, I should have specified this in the beginning of a project. These are buttons. This is considered a button, yes, but you know what? If you want a makeup mirror, beautiful. That's what this is. It's actually a one, or you'll notice it's right, 2 1/4 inch mirror. So you actually can take it off, flip it around, and, you know, pluck your eyebrows. Yeah, if you need to. So, and it'd be your custom little pocket mirror. Kind of neat, eh? So anyway, it's still considered a button, but it doesn't have the backing like these ones. You'll notice these, where these red marks are, is exactly where it's going to cut. Yes, as mentioned, in the predetermined die. So that thing is going to find those four wedges, and then cut them. Now these little cutaways are going to, of course, pop out, not pop out, but just bend slightly so that you can open up your button, slide it in, and then clamp it shut again. Kind of neat, eh? So that's how on shelf, we're going to be able to hang it up, right? With the eyelet, which is right here. Yeah, and we've seen that in the dollar store and any other packaging, you know, any other store you've been to utilizes this type. But it's a really cool package overall, because the button or the mirror itself will sit in these two cutaways. Does that make sense for everyone? I know that was maybe a lot to take in, but I'm hoping that that makes sense. That's, you know, that's what I'm here for, to kind of maybe make sense of some of this stuff. Good, good, good. All right, you guys are working on your timetables. Wicked. Awesome. All right, good. So moving on. That's good, yes? Now, we have a minimum bleed. Yay, remember that? We did that enough. We typically were adding bleed to our overall documents just to get in the habit and practice about doing that. Before we get there though, let's get organized. Today is going to be all about layers, Jerry. Layers. Yeah. So we're going to look at layers. Okay. So the very first layer, let's look at layer 1, and I'd like you to double click on it. And I gave you a basic template to follow on how the layers kind of can look. For this though, let's just kind of do this together, all right? I don't need you to call out every layer exactly as I have written there. I just need to see that we've made the effort and we are separating our things. There are things that are going to be really important that I'll call out, but for this, let's call this as template details, okay? Now in the template details, we have a few things, right? And that, of course, is going to be this stuff here, right? And then this stuff here, okay? Also, template details, this stuff here. So that really, in essence, is going to make up the main template detailing, okay? So that being said, let's create a new layer. Actually, shit, you know what? Yeah, let's create a new layer, okay? If you guys want to try this with me, this is kind of a neat little trick. I say trick, but okay, how's it going? So there's my daughter screaming. There we go. do this with me. You ready? Black arrow or hit the V key. Let's marquee select and just grab. Adi, can you close my doors, my love? Okay. Thanks, baby. All right, so V key, yeah, is our black arrow. If you guys ever need to go quickly to the white arrow, that's the A key, right? So V, black arrow. Cool, or black arrow. We're gonna go here, select on that copy as mentioned. I want you to hit shift. Okay, so shift is held down. I want us to marquee on this copy here. Good, so now I'm just gonna move it to show you. We've got this selected, yeah? Shift again, click, drag, grab that copy. Good, so if you move it, you should have something that looks like that. We can always Command Z to get back. This is our template details as we've called out. You ready? Do this with me. Command 2. Yes? So Command 2 is your select lock, right? Yes? Cool. So lock, yeah. Where is it? Object, sorry. There it is, lock. I apologize. So I never use it because I always do Command 2, okay? You ready? Command A. Awesome. So what I now have is everything else. Notice how I can do a Command A on it because everything else is locked. So by doing Command A, that should select everything that's not locked, yeah? Which is really great, okay? Okay, so let's do this. Layer 2, I would like you to do die. Awesome. No, and everyone, I want you to, let's say die line. That's very morbid. There we go. No one, yeah, good. All right, so our die will be not our registration marks. We don't want those. Those are gonna be on a separate layer. They need to print. If there's anything that needs to print, as mentioned before, it's these 4 marks, okay? So what we're gonna do, marquee select, let's get this info, okay? So I'm gonna select on the main outline, shift. You can do this just one at a time if you'd like. Click, shift, click, okay? So we're getting there, keep shift held down. I'm gonna click here on this mirror. I'm gonna click here on this copy. Leave the hands, they will be a separate piece, okay? The hands are really important. We need that actually as a design element, don't we? So that's gonna be really important. Try this with me though. After those are selected, I have shift still held down. See if you can't go right where I have it here. Click, don't let go, drag. What I'm gonna do is marquee select on the rest of the bottom area, like so. I've let go of all my buttons right now, and notice it just goes back to my black arrow, yeah? Cool. At this point, I can in fact zoom out. So if I do spacebar, command, zoom out. There we go. Okay, I only did that so I can kind of show you what we have selected here is basically that. See that? I'm going to Command Z. Amazing. This is in fact our die, and we're going to use this as a die, but really more so as a template, right? Because a die line, it is a die line, but in theory, it's not an actual die line in regards to, as I mentioned before, how it's not a custom die line, but it is kind of how this is where the ESCO table is predetermined to cut. Yes, so it is in fact, it's not a custom die, but it is a die line. Okay, sound good? Let's take a step back for a second, just make sure we've got this. So let's go into eyeball here, die line, click on and off. Looks good, bada boom, bada bing. Click on template details, that's fantastic. While we're here, before we bring any of our artwork in, let's get one more layer set up. And you know what? I'm gonna put my hands and reg on the same layer, okay? So the reason I'm gonna do that is the hands are so absolutely integral. They need to be on this. And that will also just ensure that my registration marks will stay turned on. I'm hoping you will anyway, okay? So shift. So here's another thing we can do. Yeah, never mind, it's all good. Let's go here. I'm gonna select shift, select, select. I'm going to zoom in, just make sure that we have that registration, right? You can move them really, don't move them like, don't forget to move them back. If you want to move just to kind of see that you have them, great. And then Command Z, get back. Really important, Shift, click on the hands. Again, move them quickly if you want to see, move them back. There we go. We've now officially got our registration marks and our two hands, and we can move them up into hands and reg. Sound good? Amazing. It's at this time that I would like you to grab the registration marks, Shift, select, and select, okay? And I would like you to lock them down, and that will be a Command 2. Yes? Fantastic. So keep in mind, that's a selection lock, right? You'll notice right here, if I drill down into my layers, it didn't force lock my overall layer. It only locked those elements within the layer. So these are known as selection locks, right? Not overall, right? Hard lock. Anyway, just kind of call that out. But now that those are locked, we know that we can't get at them. We probably should have had its own layer registration, and that way we could force lock, but I'm just doing it on the same layer because I know that we're going to need these hands, okay? Overall for sure, okay? The die line, okay, we're good. I'm gonna use this die line because I need to create bleed, don't I? And bleed needs to be, as we are aware, around the outside perimeter of this box, right? Remember that? So bleed. You'll notice in the instructions, I do need you to have full bleed. So I want you to fill this in with a color, whatever color you choose. But pick a color that's contrasting, pick a color that works really well. But basically, I don't want it to be white is what I'm getting at, okay? You can have elements that are white, I guess, within your background, of course. Meaning if I were to do the gourd thing and I go in and, right, I put a gourd here and a gourd there, right? You can do something like this as well, I guess, right? Gourd, and keep the, I guess, keep some of it in white, meaning, but I want them fairly, like a large portion of your project to be filled in with color, okay? But I will give you the option to do something like this. Just don't keep it white, okay? Because I want to see you guys utilizing the bleed, okay? Make sense? So if you do something like this, it's okay. Again, we want you to bleed off. See that, right? We want it to be off of the canvas or off of the cut, because remember, it's going to cut 1/8 of an inch outside, okay? To get, or sorry, it's going to cut on this line. So we need to make sure that we have the added buffer. Remember, we talked about that with the bleed quite a bit in graphic design fundamentals. We know, we love it. Okay, so let's do this, Command Y, and I want you to go here, hit the V key. Are we ready? You guys are like, yeah, we're ready. So go here, select on this little guy. Sorry, are we following along okay? Does anyone need a bit of a break to catch up, or yeah? Let me know. I'd like you to go follow along so that way you won't have to worry about doing any of this later. Awesome. If anyone needs added time, please don't hesitate to shout at me. But basically, we're just dealing with some simple layering, sort of, right? I say simple, but we're gonna get, you know, it's pretty intense and really important. The layering for this, much like packaging, it's extremely important to make sure that we know and we're organized. It is important all the time, but I mean, when we come into packaging and so on, the dies and all this fun trims and folds and knockouts and all that stuff, we need to really know what's happening and be aware of all this stuff. Okay, let's rock and roll. Go ahead, take this. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm going to select on the die line the main perimeter die line. Okay, and that's all I need. We've done this before. Object, path, offset. I'll leave this up for a second. So select on the main die and hit offset path. Good. So offset path, we know is going to create an exact offset, whether it be inside or outside. Okay. We know that it needs to be 0.125 for a bleed, right? That's 1/8 of an inch, as we know now. You'll notice, I think yours may be defaulted to 0.1389, which is for some reason the default for Illustrator. I don't know why. Don't ask me. So you can force it to 0.125, you'll notice. You can force it to anything. So if you're doing an overall, this is really great if you're doing a logo design, you don't want to use appearance, but you want to have an overall outline of something. This is how you can go about it with an object, right? Object, 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 object. You can do this 3 times, and then you have outline, 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 outline. And if you're like, dude, why didn't you show us that before? Well, I was hoping you'd use appearance. That's all good, right? So we can do that. 0.2, right? Point whatever.
Hey,
0.5.
Mitch,
Yeah, sir.
sorry to interrupt. I just have a question about the offset path.
Sure.
Uh, what is the like miter and miter limit? Like, what does that even mean?
Yes. So good call. Miters are a part of your stroke. Okay. So miters right here in your stroke. I will show you what the miter does. Okay. In essence, if you take something like this, there we go. We got a squiggly line, right? There's a stroke. Good. Now, if I bump my stroke up and be ridiculous here. Okay, there we go. Now, some of us, when we're designing, we may notice that some of your strokes, when you get really tight into it, it does this. Has anyone ever run into that before?
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
This is your miter limit. Okay. If you want to fix this, I know I went over this just really briefly in one of our classes, so I didn't go into great detail. The miter limit's right here. What it does is it then allows for this angle to actually be represented as a point. The reason it does this, I think, is because it gets so absolutely ridiculous, and see how already long it is, how crazy it gets? If you go here and I bring that in, basically Illustrator is kind of saying, this is going to be so ridiculously long, it kind of like defaults to a square end. Yeah. If you crank your miter limit to say 40, there it is. It will allow you to see that. Does that make sense for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's what your miter limit is.
Okay.
Yeah. So what it's saying is if this package had a bunch of crazy lines like that, do you want it to do a squared off edge, or do you want it to have that crazy miter?
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, sweet. Thank you.
No
That
worries.
thing's been bugging me forever.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where, yeah, I maybe should have went over the miter limit in greater detail. My trick to this, if you find, okay, sorry, just kind of take a step back. If you find that you have something like this after you fix your miter and you're like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous, what I would do to fix it, few things. One, you can round it. We know that. But not all your designs is going to require a rounded stroke. You might be like, dude, I don't need a rounded stroke. I want it to be pointy, but this is just ridiculous. You would do this after the fact. Outline stroke. Once it's outlined, then I would just manually make an adjustment. Like so. Sound good?
Sweet.
Yeah.
Very good.
So hopefully that helps anyone who struggles with that stroke, because that is the bane. I know it's a real pain in the arse, because when you finish a design, and this can get you too, especially when you're doing your overall perimeter of a stroke and you don't even realize that you had maybe a jut somewhere. And it can be a really minor thing, like something like this, that you don't even realize is there. And then you'll go to put a stroke on it, right? And then it will look like, you know, it'll come up and look something like this. And you'll look at it and go, what the heck is that? Right? Well, first of all, it's indicating that you have a ridiculous, you know, something crazy going on that's got to be fixed, right? But also you can adjust that, you know, anyway, go in and fix that. But anyway, I'm hoping that was a quick miter limit tutorial. It's all good. But yes, that's one of those banes that I should have went over because it kind of, yeah, yeah. All right, back to it. Select on that object, path, offset path. Now you'll notice we have it as, and you can leave it at default if you want. 0.138 is close enough, right? If you did a minus 0.12, that'll do to the inside. So that would be considered our live area, right? Kind of cool. For something like this, our live area, I would say 0.2 would probably be okay, right? About 1/4 of an inch. That make sure that'll, and maybe, you know what, shit, let's do that. I'm gonna leave that in there. I'm gonna create that as my live area, okay? 0.2. It's a great practice to get into, okay? That was minus 0.2. If you don't have that on your file, don't stress, but I'm hoping that it will help you, right? And make sure that that's where it needs to be. Awesome. Now, we've got this, okay? And what I'd like to do is take that, and I'm going to object path, out, offset path, okay? Now we'll just leave it 0.13 is fine. There we go. No minus this time. And that is our bleed, which is really important. So now we have our live, as we know from, right? And then we also have our bleed line. This, of course, is where it's trimmed, yeah? So really important line. Okay, now, this is our overall background that I want you guys to use. So this, in theory, isn't actually, right? It's part of the design. So we need to now create a layer for that. Really important, because this is gonna be the background color on the overall, okay? And let's go in and just change that really quick, if you could. Even hit D, hit the D key for a second. So with that outer selected, hit D, that'll get us back to default, right? Let's just fill that in black for now. You guys, of course, can change this when you get into designing, but for now, just so that we can see it, just make it black or whatever color you want. You know, make it a color that stands out so that, you know, you can see your overall. But when you get into designing, of course, mine happens to be gourd, so maybe I'll go with like a lime green for now. That looks kind of good. I'll just use a swatch color. Probably best that you go into your right, Adobe Color, or use colors from your button, of course, and use colors from your overall copy as your main color, yeah? Please, please, please unify it, right? Colors used in your type should be used everywhere. And I'm hoping that even in our copy that we used up here, we maybe transitioned some of that color and copy from here, the colors that were used maybe into our creations. Not mandatory, but a nice touch to kind of unify the type with the buttons, right? Just kind of thought I'd show that out. Cool. This is our die line. What I'd like you guys to do is go ahead and create a new layer. And we now have this background selected, okay? And I really need you guys to go in, grab that, move it up to the next layer, okay? So I'm on layer 4 right now. So we all saw how that was done. Just grab the main slug or outline. We're going to create a new layer, and we're going to move that up into that layer. And we're going to call this out as, I might just call this out as overall color, or background would be better. Awesome. So I'm going to give that its own layer. That's how important it is, okay? So I've got my background layer color. I'm going to move that down. So you guys are aware by now that we can just grab layers and we can move them, right? Up and down. Good. So I'm going to move that down, have the die line on top. Nice. We've got our hands and our registration marks. Awesome. We've got our template details. Amazing. Looks good, right? Beautiful. So, few things. You ready for this? This is kind of neat. Remember we did this like week 1 when we went in and we created for the main assignment or the first exercise we did together. I would like you to do this with me. Shift, click on this keyhole, click on the live area and click on the trim line, okay? For now, right click, make guide. Cool, eh? Now, if I make a guide, what's gonna happen is it's going to take my live and my bleed and literally do exactly that. It's going to make it so that it's just a guide, okay? Which is kind of neat, because now if you hit Command semicolon, you can hide and show your guides at any time, right? So if you find that you don't want to constantly go up into your die line layer and hide it, you can literally just do Command semicolon hide show. Again, they're exactly that, just to give you a helpful hand as to right where it needs to be. It looks like we might be slightly off on this. That's okay. That's the way it's set up. So we'll leave it as it is. Now, again, it's a predetermined, so we are golden. We'll go with it. Okay. Now, the guides, when they are guides, though, you'll notice that they aren't, you can't really get to them, right? You can't grab a hold of them unless you unlock them. Guides, unlock, which is right there. Okay. I have mine locked by default. I think you guys may as well. Go ahead and check it and view guides. Now you may have lock guides. I would suggest you turn that on. Okay. The reason being is you don't want to have to worry about accidentally selecting them and moving them. Okay. So now you'll notice I'm trying to grab them, but I can't. You would then need to force unlock it, unlock, and then I can grab it. See that? Cool, eh? All right, all right. So I'm going to go back in and just lock that up. Lock guides, okay? As mentioned, Command semicolon. Beautiful, short key. Awesome. Now, again, remember this one is where it's trimming, okay? So don't put any of your copy. This is our live area right here, yes? Also, we have the eyelet, so don't put your copy anywhere near the eyelet. We want that down, right? So your copy should fit. Remember, we kind of created that invisible rectangle for your design copy, just to make sure that you were within a certain width, right? The height, not so much. You could have gone and played around with that height a bit. And maybe you still can. If you find that you're not happy with your type and you want to mess around, maybe build your type into the package a little further. Fill your boots, okay? Have some fun with that. So I have no problem if you go ahead and switch up a few things. Even your buttons, if you find, I'm gonna get on those buttons to mark them right away for you. I'll give you, I don't know about audio feedback, but I'll give you feedback, maybe take some pictures to help you along. And if you want to then make some adjustments, you're more than welcome to do so, okay, for your final. But that's your call. Now, holy heckin' Hannah, let's save this, yeah? That'd be a good idea. So Command S, where are we at? 10:30, we're halfway there, everyone. Look at that. And we've basically got our template ready to rock. If you want to try this with me, just go in and let's just have a look at it. Turn them on and off, our registration in our hands, good. We've got our die line. That looks beautiful, okay? We've then got our background color, amazing. And then we've got our template details. That's great, okay? Now the template details are nice, but this would be something that I don't need to be printed, right? I know it has your project details and so on here for proofing, but when we go to print, I don't want this stuff printed. Like, why would I have this stuff printed, okay? One reason you may would be if you had your name on it. And if I have 35 submissions or 40 submissions and there isn't your name on it somewhere, I'm not gonna remember whose is whose. So the design or your name or designer would be important. That being said, we are gonna put your name on this package. So that's gonna be it's gonna be a no-brainer for that. So you ready? Do this with me, then we'll take a break. Template details. What I'd like you to do is double click on template details for me. Go into the layer. Okay, so we're there. What I would like you to do, see this, print. This will, if you click it off, not print this layer. Cool, eh? So if you ever had a layer that you had on there that you just, if you know by all reason this layer should not be printed, and you maybe forget to turn it off at the end of the process, if I know that this is to not print, I will go in and make sure I click on that right away and say, I know that I don't want any of these details printed. It is literally just the details around the perimeter of the printed submission. So you can go in and you can, as mentioned, double click on a layer, turn the print off. If I want it to be even more, I'm going to be crazy because I like to do this. Template details, no print. And no print. Yeah, check it out. Good, eh? All right, everyone. I'm going to go get a coffee. You guys go ahead and rock and roll. This is kind of interesting. Check out what happens to your name when you go to no print. It italicizes. Isn't that cool? I have never noticed that before. Double click, turn on print. Notice how it then straightens up. Try it again. Turn off print. Italics. That is freaking cool. You learn something new every day, everyone. That's why I love this job. So, Command S, let's save it. Let's take till 10:30. Sound good? We get like maybe 10:32. We'll take 10 minutes, and then we'll come back. We'll get your copy. If you are like, dude, I don't want a break, I want to keep going. Awesome. Copy your type, bring it over here. Copy all 3 buttons, bring them over here. We're going to need to have all of those objects here into this file. Okay? So during the 10 minutes, if you're like, I don't need a break, then that's something you can work on. Grab all of your stuff, just put them over here on the side for now, okay, everyone? And then we'll come back and then we'll get them all organized and placed in the proper spot. Sound good? All right, I'll be back in 10, everyone. I'm gonna stop share. I'm gonna